Hey there VC, Mark here. Today I'm going to do a video on, it's be like a spotlight video on a band that I really liked, still like them when I was growing up in the 1970s, and their first album was in 1975 and they disbanded in 1980. Many people in the States or anywhere else in the world don't really know too much about them. But if you know Kim Mitchell, if you remember him, he had hits such as Go for Soda, Patio Lanterns, Lager and Ale, songs like that. He was originally from a band called Max Webster. And Max Webster formed in 1973. Originally, the first few original members formed actually in Sarnia, Ontario, but the band finally came together in Toronto, so really they're kind of classed as being a Toronto band. And throughout their career they were kind of tightly affiliated with Rush. Rush really liked having them along as being their opening band, their opening act, whenever they were touring. Max Webster was never really a headliner act, but as a teenager in the 70s, Max Webster was one of the best party bands you could want to listen to. And it wasn't that their music was strictly party type music. It was different kind of music. Their music was rock, it was pop, a little avant-garde, a little bit really just really a little bit strange. Some of their stuff was really different, really bizarre sounding. A lot of it was due to their lyricist, who wasn't really part of the band. His name was, or is Pi Dubois, French Canadian, and some very outrageous lyrics in some of the tunes that Max Webster did. And I'll go on with that a little bit later. So I'll start off with Max Webster's first album, and I actually have two copies of it, as you can see right here. Same album. The only difference is that the very first issue, or very first release of a Max Webster album, was on this label, which I've never seen anywhere else except on Max Webster album. It's a Taurus. I guess that's an independent Canadian label, Taurus Records. And my second copy of the first album was the first, I guess it was the second issue, and all their subsequent albums were on this label as well. A label that Rush was on, or is on, as well as the Anthem label, Anthem Records Canada. So the first album. Here's the album cover. Kind of cool artwork with the blockheads coming off the assembly line there in the back cover. And this album is probably, even though it's the first album, it's my favorite album as well. It's got quite a variety of different types of music on here. The very first tune, called Hangover, it starts off with this screeching guitar sound, like it's almost like fingers against a chalkboard, the kind of sound that you wouldn't want to hear if you were hungover. And then it leads into a really great rock and roll tune, and some fantastic lyrics as well. If there's a Max Webster tune that really rocks, that's the song, the very first song on their first album, Hangover. Other great tunes on the album are Here Among the Cats. It's a very laid-back song I really like as well, called Blowin' the Blues Away. And I've attached a link to my comments below the video. There's a tune on here called Toronto Tontos. And if you've never heard it before, I really recommend that any of you check it and watch, or not. It's not really a video, it just shows this album cover, but the music is in the soundtrack. Listen to the song. It's just the most bizarre thing that, for sure, that they have ever recorded, but one of the most bizarre songs I've ever heard. A lot of fun to listen to as well. So give a listen to Toronto Tontos and see what you think. So that's their first album. That was in 1975. Max Webster's second album, High Class and Borrowed Shoes, released in 1977. And this album shows all the band members at the time. The band had gone through a few personnel changes throughout their 5-year span. And this time it was Terry Watkinson on keyboards, Kim Mitchell guitar, Mike Tilk on bass, and Gary McCracken on drums. And again, Max Webster's sound, very unique, very different, very enjoyable, a lot of fun. That's the word that best describes their music to me, is very fun, you know, party music. They're a great party band, but at the same time their music isn't like typical party music. It's unique. It's different. I don't know how really to describe their music other than being different, a little strange. Especially, like I said, with lyrics are just kind of bizarre, and if you can really understand the meanings of the songs, well then you got one up on me, because some of these songs I just don't understand what they're trying to tell me. But the thing is, I like the music, and you know, this is part of my my youth, and it's just great stuff to listen to. So their second album, High Class and Borrowed Shoes. Third album, and again here's the cover, and the back shows the band again. Again, very outrageous clothes everybody's wearing. There's Kim Mitchell there, and this album is probably more noted for the song Lip Service, which is the first song on the album, side 1, and this song you're hearing right here, Waterline, is also one of the major songs from the record, and probably the song that most, you know, Canadian teens remembered at the time was the song called The Party, and basically it's just the party song is what it is. And the famous line from the song is, "We're all here to be reckless," and it's just a great party song, and again, another great Max Webster album. The next album was actually the first album by Max Webster that actually was released in the United States originally, with the Canadian release. Up until this time, Max Webster was an unknown commodity anywhere else but in Canada, and I think they were known in some places of Europe, but that's about it. So I got 2 copies of their next album. It's called A Million Vacations, and this is the Canadian copy, and it has some Canadian postcard pictures at the bottom, including a Canadian Mountie, and there's the back cover. The US version is similar on the front, only it doesn't have the postcards on the bottom. And the back cover is quite a bit different. Song lineup's exactly the same. This is on Anthem Records Canada, this is on Capitol Records US. And I just thought it was kind of cool, the differences in the album jacket and all that. That's why I got the 2 copies. Again, this is another great album, probably their most commercially successful album, although even this wasn't a huge commercial success. It was still, you know, it still yielded a couple minor hits. Their biggest song on here was Let Go the Line. Also A Million Vacations, the title track, and Paradise Skies were minor hits as well. But those 3 are my favorite album, my favorite songs. My favorite songs on here are Research at Beach Resorts, which is another great party tune, Rascal Hootie, and Night Flights is a great tune as well. So this is one of my favorite Max Webster albums. I would still say that the first one was my all-time favorite, but this one ranks right up there as well. Their next album is actually a live effort. And this one is a US press too. I used to have a Canadian press years ago. I don't know what happened to it. I lost it many years ago. Found this one on eBay. It was sealed when I bought it. It's got the punch-out hole on there. And it's Max Webster Live Magnetic Air. And it has basically a compilation of their constant favorites from the previous 4 albums. Great live album. Then after that, they came out with kind of like a greatest hits called Diamonds, Diamonds, and again, it's another compilation, but this time it's not live. It's all their main hit songs from, or minor hit songs from their first 4 albums. Don't play this one very much. I'm not much into the compilation stuff, but still worth having. Their final album. They'd really gone through a lot of changes in their personnel. Now they're down to a 3-person band, and Kim Mitchell is on the cover of the album, and he's the last original member left of the band. And this too is a very good rocking album. In the World of Giants, Check, April in Toledo, and there's a great song on the inside one called Battle Scar. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, they actually went into the studio with Rush, and they recorded this song. And they recorded it with the 3 members of Max Webster and 3 members of Rush. So there's 2 drummers, there's 2 guitars, and there's two bass guitars. And Geddy Lee and Kim Mitchell take turns, and they actually do like a duet with this song called Battle Scar, which is an excellent hard rock tune. And like I said, Rush and Max Webster were pretty tight as far as like being friends and touring and stuff like that. Unfortunately, after this album was released, shortly afterwards, Max Webster disbanded, and Kim Mitchell took on a solo career. This album's got kind of a cool insert, some cool artwork. And this guy down here, the mustache, that's Pi Dubois. He was still the lyricist, the main lyricist for the band, and lyrics and some cool artwork on there. Max Webster's last album. So anyway, something else I wanted to mention too is a lot of the U.S. pressings. What happened was when Kim Mitchell he gained some notoriety in the U.S. with his 80s stuff like Go for Soda and Patio Lanterns and stuff like that. The record company decided to try to re-release some of Max Webster's stuff, like the earlier albums in the United States. But because nobody would really know who Max Webster was, or what they did was, on many of the U.S. releases, I don't have one, but I've seen them on eBay all the time, is you'd have this album, for example, and it would say featuring Kim Mitchell. So you can get pretty well any Max Webster album in the U.S., but chances are you're going to find it saying featuring Kim Mitchell, because people would identify with Kim Mitchell, the ones who've heard his music before. That gets some Canadians, including myself, a little upset, because really featuring Kim Mitchell is kind of saying, well, Kim Mitchell was the main focus of the band, and really he wasn't, especially in the first 3 or 4 albums. He was just another member of the group, not necessarily the leader. I don't really think there was a leader in the band, but you know, it makes it sound like, you know, he was the guy who drove Max Webster. He was the main guy, but probably on the last album he was, but other than that, no. So anyway, that's all I had to say about Max Webster. Like I said, one of my favorite bands when I was in my teenage years and even into my mid-20s, and I still like them today. I'm 52 years old now, and I still listen to Max Webster once in a while. Maybe just for nostalgic reasons, I don't know, but I do like to put them on, crank it up, and you know, just kind of reminisce, I guess. Some great stuff, and it's just too bad that they didn't really get the recognition that I think they deserved back in the day. Canadian record companies just were very poor at promoting Canadian talent, and Max Webster is one of the bands that really should have been promoted a lot more than what they were. And it's just too bad, but that's just the way it was in the 70s, and especially in Canada. I remember Bachman Turner Overdrive. They were, Randy Bachman, I know at that time, from what I remember, was you know, he was very upset as to how poorly Canadian talent was promoted, and you know, he always made sure that you know, there's a maple leaf in all of BTO's covers, so that people know that we're Canadian. He promoted the Canadian name all the time, but it just seemed that the record companies weren't really interested. It's too bad. But anyway, that's my video on Max Webster. You know, if you want to leave a comment or have any questions about it, and again, check out the link I put at the bottom there. It's if you've never heard Toronto Tunnels before, I think you'll like it. It's like I said, it's really different. So take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.